Next up, it's been an interesting growing season for wheat, with a moderate fall, dry winter, and now a soggy spring. And disease is presenting new challenges as we get closer to harvest. Market Journal's Bill Dodd is looking into what wheat producers have been dealing with and what they should be on the lookout for. Bill, what have you got for us today?
Thanks, Troy. As we all know, we had quite the transition from winter to spring, and that's been especially true for many wheat producers in the state. Now, many are going to be gearing up for harvest after a late planting season, and aside from the wild weather, late planting has probably been the biggest setback for most producers. This year's wheat production is looking fairly stable, despite 7% of the crop looking poor to very poor. And winter wheat heading is only reported at 69%, which is behind last year's 86% and well under the 89% average for this time of year. With somewhat of a predictable fall and winter precipitation coming in late with record amounts of moisture, many producers had a hard time with their crop this year. A few weeks ago, I spoke with Nebraska Extension Dryland Cropping Systems Specialist Cody Creech and got his take on how the late moisture we received this winter was too much for some producers and a blessing in disguise for others.
Really, I think the biggest thing from the winter is we started off the fall pretty good with moisture, and then it was really dry for a number of months through November into January, and then finally winter finally showed up late, but it came with moisture, and that was the biggest thing that we got out of the winter was the moisture. It was very much needed. There is a few areas up in the northwest corner of the Panhandle that had some winter kill. And I guess the other thing would be where we had a lot of rain, we had some ponding which killed a little bit of the wheat in some of those lower areas. But overall, the wheat came out of the winter looking pretty good.
With all the added moisture late in the season, many producers are beginning to see too much of a good thing. While wetter weather was a welcome sight after a dry winter, it's recently contributed to other problems. Wheat disease had been low throughout the spring in Nebraska, but a number of reported cases are on the rise and are expected to keep rising. Surveys of wheat fields in southeast Nebraska during the week of June 3rd revealed a compelling escalation in disease from the previous weeks. With different wheat diseases from neighboring states turning up in Nebraska, Extension plant pathologist Stephen Wegulo tells me now is the time to stay vigilant when examining your fields.
In the southern states, for example in Kansas, they have leaf rust. In Oklahoma, they have a lot of leaf rust. The spores have blown north from southern states. So scouting should continue. Look out for leaf rust, but also the fungal leaf spots, tan spot and septoria. Time a fungicide application to protect the flag leaf, but more importantly, to protect against Fusarium head blight.
On June 4th, stripe rust had been identified in a state variety trial field in Washington County. On June 5th, bacterial leaf streak, leaf rust, and stripe rust were in the beginning stages of development at the Eastern Nebraska Research and Extension Center near Meade. Furthermore, leaf rust and fungal leaf spots were detected at moderate to severe levels, while Fusarium head blight was present at the Havelock Research Farm on June 6th in trace amounts. However, those amounts are expected to increase, and while there aren't really any options to preempt any of these diseases, there are steps you can take once the disease is spotted in your crop.
The level of disease that you're seeing actually determines the type of action that you're going to take. The flag leaf contributes the most to yield, and therefore we time fungicide application to protect the flag leaf. So if the upper leaves are free of disease, you probably are better off to wait. Don't go and spray right away. But with the weather that we have right now, the disease that is of most concern is Fusarium head blight. It affects wheat heads, and it appears shortly after flowering. So 7 or so days after flowering, you see heads bleached, and that's Fusarium head blight. So the best strategy right now is for growers to wait until the wheat is headed and has started flowering. And at that time, just apply one spray of a fungicide, and that will take care of both Fusarium head blight and the leaf diseases like the fungal leaf spots and the leaf rust.
As far as what fungicides to apply, Stephen tells me products that are most effective on all of these diseases are Procero, Cambra, and Miravis Ace. As always, producers should make sure to read and follow the label instructions and restrictions before application. And most importantly to note, once the field is past the flowering stage, it will be too late to apply any fungicides at that point. So right now is going to be the best time to check on those fields and take any necessary action before it's too late. And Troy, that's what I've got my eye on this week. For now, we'll send it back to you.